Welcome to Predator Minute, the podcast that breaks down the 1987 action sci-fi classic Predator 1 minute at a time. I'm John Zabriskie.
And I'm Jeff Glover.
And today we're talking number 34. Today we're talking minute 34 of Predator. You could say this is the Bo Jackson of Predator.
And Bo Jackson to the 20 and out in front. And only one man to beat and easily can't run him down. He had the angle, but there goes Bo. And nobody catches Bo. Touchdown.
Oh, nice.
Charles Barkley of Predator.
That's a terrible idea.
Ooh, such a good rebounder.
Yeah, Shaquille O'Neal of...
From this day on, I would like to be known as the Big Aristotle.
Oh.
Did I say a Predator? Doesn't matter. The Shaquille O'Neal of Predator.
Oh, it's... So this episode is bad at foul shooting.
Oh, yeah. But it's...
Yeah.
Hilarious in post-game interviews.
Oh yeah, and also I guess if we're the Charles Barkley of minutes, we're terrible.
We're terrible.
That's a terrible idea.
Terrible, and we can't golf. Dude, have you ever seen him swing a golf club?
No.
Oh man, there's got to be some YouTube clips out there. He has the worst golf swing I've ever seen.
Sure, I'm sure it's terrible.
That's a terrible idea.
Terrible.
Sorry, Charles Barkley.
And late. Baseball news, it's the Bryce Harper of minutes. I believe he's number 34, just signed a gigantic contract with the Phillies.
Harper to right center. See you later.
If I knew anything about baseball, I'd have more to say about that.
He sure hits the home runs.
Does he? Great.
Okay, so we are on minute 34 of Predator. Minute 34 opens with Billy laughing it up in Predator vision and ends with the Predator taking in the aftermath of the camp attack.
Yeah, we get some Predator attack.
Mac.
It's begun, everybody.
Yep.
Sorry. We get a lot of Predator vision in this one.
A lot of vision, Predator, yeah.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it more, but we're really in the middle of the genre shift, as we've talked about before, the shift into Act 2.
Act.
Mac.
And I'm going to go ahead and have a sip of my beverage.
I'm going to have my glass of white here.
And the great return of the drums.
Yes. Drums, please.
Drums, please.
Perfect.
So, all right. So, should I start us off?
Yeah, why don't you start us off? See what we're doing here in the beginning of the minute. Why don't you?
Okay. Well, it's carrying over from the last minute, and at the last minute, we had some Predator vision of Billy happening, and so this minute picks up with a little more, like a second or two of 3 seconds of some more Predator vision here with Billy, and we cut back to regular vision, and Billy is walking away from the camera and then stops and turns, and we get this nice slow turn, faces sort of back towards the camera, looks up into the canopy of the jungle. I feel like he has a good kind of Rambo looking vibe here, don't you think?
Oh, totally. Yeah, I wasn't even thinking that, but he totally has that 80s Rambo. Yeah, the hair is kind of done up a little bit.
The headband on, or and there's kind of blood on his face, along with the army makeup, camo makeup.
The giant weapon in his hand.
Yeah. The green vest on.
Yeah.
Reminiscent. So we are clearly we're assuming he senses or hears something we know as the Predator.
Oh, yeah.
Up here in the canopy. Yeah.
He totally does. And I think viewers might be kind of faked out watching this the first time around, knowing what happened, like knowing the general guidelines of this movie or the outline of this movie. They might be watching thinking, oh, like the way he's pausing and the shaky cam's following him a little bit. Like, is something going to happen to him right here? Are we going to see some unseen attacker take Billy on? But no, it's just kind of turns into him doing a maybe slightly faster than usual jog out of the camp. Like, hey guys, wait up for me.
It cuts back wide and he just runs out towards the back of the jungle there. And we get some nice little sound spikes from Alan Silvestri's score here.
Yeah.
Kind of that Back to the Future-esque. Da-da.
Yes.
Yeah.
If Billy could hear this, he'd totally be freaked out. It's just you hear this, yeah, like you're saying, doo doo doo. You hear a little bit maybe flutes, and then a little bit of some strings, and then you hear like the mechanized version of the Predator kind of ch ch ch.
Oh
some
yeah,
drums, not the drums yet, but just some drums, and then your favorite kind of music right here. Your favorite music sting is when he jogs out. Then you hear the drums.
yeah, around like second 22 or so.
Yeah.
It fades in and we get those drums. Yeah, so we're getting a lot in this minute, the previous minute, and in minutes to come, we're going to get a lot of Predator vision here. And they're really establishing the Predator as another character of the movie now. The genre shift, like we said, is going to focus more on kind of the cat and mouse now between the team and the Predator.
Yeah, because once it switches back to that Predator vision, you're assuming that, whatever's watching through here is, right, it's only going to be a matter of time until it starts following the team. But for whatever reason, the Predator vision that we're seeing here, it's showing us that the Predator is lingering on the camp. It's not, running full speed at Billy. It's not attacking him. It's not chasing the team. It's taking in everything. If you want to talk about what happens next, then in the next part of the minute, I don't have a whole lot to say about Billy looking around other than it's like you're saying, it's a good little Rambo moment, and it's a good scene of him connecting us, the audience, to the fact that there are maybe some people on the team who are going to be aware if something's about to happen before it happens involving the Predator.
Yeah. Well, Billy's been the one that's been most aware this whole time, right? He's got that spidey sense going on. I was going to ask, so you see him run off out of the camp towards the jungle. Do you think is he running back towards the team, do you think? Or is he running like off by himself to go, I don't know, check something out? Or
I think this is the direction Hawkins ran off in after Billy started laughing, and Billy was just kind of sitting there laughing for however long, 10 to 15 seconds or so, and I think he's just following that trail. But we don't see anybody else. It's a dialogue-free scene, so nobody's calling him, and there's no other characters that we see other than Billy and the dead gorillas on the ground in this vision and in Predator vision.
Yeah. All right. So Billy jogs out of the camp here, maybe a little faster than he normally would.
Yeah.
We see the remnants of their destruction. There's bodies laying about. We got turned over barrels. Shit is still on fire.
Yes.
But don't worry. They've left no traces.
No traces.
No traces.
No traces.
No traces.
No traces.
And then we get this kind of cool camera work here where it's still a wide shot, but the camera sort of zooms and moves up at the same time through the smoke. I like the smoke here. Adds an air of mystery up and kind of points up into the canopy. And the whole time you're looking. And I thought, when I rewatched Predator a while back for this project, at this scene, I was convinced we were going to see that kind of wavy outline of the Predator up there, but we don't.
We keep thinking we're going to see it. Like in the few times we've done this, there's another time early on, where they're looking right in the jungle, or the camera's panning up, very similar to this early on in the movie, and we think, it's like we're going to see that shimmer, and no shimmer. We're just kind of left to want.
And this is kind of a horror movie trope, actually, when the camera zooms in or slowly lingers on one area. This would be the classic place to drop in like a jump scare, like, cut to like the cat jumping off the couch. Cat. Or like a window slamming shut or something to make the audience jump, but because we are expecting to see something but don't.
Yeah.
But we don't get that here. We don't get any sort of suspenseful jump or jump scare. It just then cuts away. As it zooms into the jungle, it cuts away right back to Predator vision.
Yeah. I do want to give credit before we jump to the Predator vision. Credit to John McTiernan doing the moving camera work. I was mentioning the shaky cam before, but I guess steady cam would be a more appropriate term when Billy's basically marching out of the camp, and slowly the first time the camera is following him. As soon as he stops and realizes something, the camera stops and just stays on him. It's really effective camera work where you don't really notice it, I would say, consciously, but subconsciously you're saying, wait, the camera just froze, meaning we're not just leaving right away, meaning there's something extra we still have to experience, or something extra we're missing possibly.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a good bit of camera work on McTiernan's part again. Then we jump to the camera, or the predator vision, like you're saying.
Yeah, so we find out that the predator is right up in that area, because when we cut back to predator vision, once you kind of get your bearings and you realize what you're seeing, you realize that the predator vision shot is from up in the trees, looking down at the destroyed camp, and we've got all these hot spots around the ground, and we're assuming those are bodies.
Yeah,
just bodies.
Just bodies.
Just bodies. Yeah, and so as the predator vision, the camera kind of zooms around the trees until there are no more trees obstructing our vision, and we just see the camp. So I take this as the predator has come down from the trees and is now kind of exploring the camp now that the crew has left.
Yeah, like maybe it's thinking if this is if this is the attacker responsible for all the skinned bodies that we saw in the beginning, it's just bodies.
Just bodies.
Just bodies.
They're skinned alive.
He didn't disappear. He was skinned alive.
Skinned
alive. Oh, so good by Eric. Oh, what a good take by Arnold.
Dropped him in the meat grinder.
So he cooked up a story and dropped the 6 of us in a meat grinder.
You set us up. What were we saying? I totally lost my train of thought.
Got you off track. What were you saying?
Okay, so he comes down into the camp. He's looking around. He's exploring. Yeah, he's probably along the lines of thinking, wow, like I skinned a few people, but these people just wiped out 80 plus other life forms. Like these are maybe some true hunters compared to me. And yeah, I might have advanced weaponry and advanced tools, but it only takes a little bit of teamwork amongst them to take down a much more massive operation. So maybe the Predator has some things to learn from the team.
Well, from the Predator's perspective, he probably doesn't care at all about killing this team of humans.
No.
I mean, he just watched them come into this, what he thought was a nice, calm, camp where everyone was enjoying food and fellowship. He just watched them blow the shit out of everybody and
Red Baron,
Little Smoky,
kill 80 people. So maybe from his perspective, he's like, wow, these guys are dicks.
Yeah. Those are the bad guys right there. Predator doesn't have politics. He just has food and fellowship on the mind. He understands that, but he's not going to understand a proxy war.
No, he doesn't understand the geopolitical overtones.
Proxy war. Yeah.
He just what's that from?
No, how would he say it? Because every time he speaks, he has this thing gurgle this what the hell are you?
Right.
Proxy war. Yeah, he just wouldn't understand.
I don't understand the intricacies of the geopolitical politics.
Cold War. I'll have to work on my Predator voice there, but
yeah,
you get the idea.
I just sound like an old man when I do it. All right, so we are in Predator vision. What else can we glean from this here? Predator comes down, looks around. He's out of the trees now.
It's hard to tell what he's looking at until he sees the body, and the body's clearly losing its heat. It's no longer, and I think we actually see a little bit of the temperature fading in this body.
It does. It fades from oranges and reds down to greens and blues. Yeah, I don't know if I have much more to say about this section here.
John McTiernan, the commentary he's giving is repeating some of what we learned when my dad, Bill Zabriskie, was a guest on the show many moons ago, talking about how they were putting together the Predator vision, this synthesis of heat vision and just regular camera work and marrying the two. But John McTiernan in this minute is going into great detail about the process of really how they messed up before they came to their solution. So I'll talk about kind of the mess up here in this minute and talk more about the solution, how they solved the problem with Predator vision in the next minute, a little teaser. But in this minute, John
You
McTiernan
tease.
McTiernan is talking about how the initial heat vision was real heat vision, how the original camera could only be 4 feet from the truck, which is obviously going to limit you physically. But the big problem was that the ambient temperature in Mexico at the time was in the 90s already, which is the same temperature as a warm human body, meaning that all the bodies already are going to be camouflaged.
Everybody just looks the same color.
Yeah, it's just like a field of red because the whole jungle is steamy hot.
Yeah.
So they tried a couple different solutions that didn't work, and then, like I said, next minute I'll go into the solution that ended up working. But the special effects team originally said, "Hey, you know what would really make the things that we want to stand out? Well, how about we put ice water on all the plants?" Which I think is just hilarious. Just like imagine the water they had to bring in, and John McTiernan.
Well, and they had to make sure it was cold water too, right?
Ice water.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about that in a previous minute. They had to bring in that cold water.
That's right, we did.
And the problem was sometimes they'd bring in the water trucks, and the water trucks would sit there in the sun and the heat, and you're spraying the water on all the plants, but the water's at that point heated up, and the same temperature, if not hotter, being inside those metal drums. So they had to really, really time that well, at least initially, before they figured things out. He also said that they would have the actors stand next to fires right before filming to further heat them up to distinguish their body heat from the ambient heat, and that they could only film like just a few seconds at a time. There'd be all this prep work. So
God, how miserable would that be to be in the hot jungle and then have to go sit next to a fire?
Yes.
A couple minutes before you start shooting and remembering your lines and acting. Yep. What a miserable conditions.
Terrible. Ugh. Oh, and just seeing the fires burning this minute just kind of made me like make that connection. Like, oh, I wonder if like when they're first filming and they had these fires, maybe these are some of the fires they'd have people stand next to. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, just go stand next to a barrel.
Yeah, stand next to a flaming barrel. Yeah, and maybe that's one of their methods. Maybe that's one of the reasons they have so many fires just kind of burning throughout, so that when they would cut to the predator vision. But they only do that a few times here at the end of the camp.
Well, to close out talk of this minute, I was going to shift our conversation a little bit, because we've talked several times about how this movie is a genre-shifting movie, how we go from a kind of a action war film to a sci-fi action suspense thriller in the second 2/3, I guess. And it made me think of other movies that have a genre shift in the middle of them. So I thought I'd share just a quick little list that I made. It is not a definitive list. It's a definitive list. I don't exercise. It's just a couple that I thought of. So this is Jeff Glover's Nerdy Movie Corner. Cue the music. Doodle-doo. All right, now these all happen to be kind of horror related, because I feel like a lot of, I know, weird with me, but also when you start to think about it, like a lot of movies that shift genres tend to shift from one genre into horror, or at least of all the ones I could think of, that's what was happening. So, all right, so it's just 4 films that came to mind. The first one is actually not so much a horror film. It's, again, more of a war film like this one, and that is Full Metal Jacket. And that might be a weird one to say, because the whole thing is a war movie, but if you watch Full Metal Jacket, there's a very clear tonal shift in the middle of it. Because the whole first half is, of course, takes place at the boot camp. And it's a war film because these are soldiers, but it's really more of a character study, and is really about Private Pyle and the other soldiers around him at boot camp. And then, of course, the drill instructor and the relationship between all these people, all these soldiers. And there's really no combat, no war, nothing. It's just about their training. And if you've never seen Full Metal Jacket, I won't spoil it for you, but
I have seen that.
The first half, the first half of the movie almost plays like its own little miniature film, short film. And then it shifts genres into more of a much more classic war movie, a lot like, say, Platoon or Apocalypse Now or something like that, where they're following soldiers as they move through the jungle. So anyway, that was one that came to mind. Have you seen Full Metal Jacket in recent time?
Not in recent time. It was just one of those movies that I remember coming on TV when I was young and watching that, or watching on HBO, and just when Private Pile does his thing, and we start to shift to the actual war angle. I remember just being so surprised. I turned it off. I was like, this is nuts. And then knowing what the rest of it looks like now, it's so interesting, the route that Kubrick took from your high pressure boot camp experience to all of a sudden like you're dropped in the middle of a war.
There's a lot that one could sit down and talk about with that movie. There's a lot of themes and things going on, but if you're looking for a good genre shifter, I'd say that one fits the bill. All right, next on my list was I love this one, starring Sam Neill, Event Horizon.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that one too.
Yeah, and I put that on my list because it starts out as a pretty straightforward sci-fi film. And if you've never seen Event Horizon, it's about it's set in the future. There's a exploratory spaceship that's out in deep space, and it disappears. And all of a sudden, many years later, it shows up again. And there's nobody on the ship except for like a distress beacon happening. So the premise of the film is they put together a new team and they send them off. And this new team's mission is to find this ship that has reappeared and figure out what's going on. Where did it go? Is there anyone on the ship? Is there any information about what happened? And so that's a very much of a science fiction premise, right? Once they get on the ship and they find it, it quickly turns into like a haunted house movie in space.
Yeah.
It's very much like you could transpose a lot of the themes and visuals and storytelling mechanisms of the second half of that movie to just a standard kind of haunted house movie, but it's on a spaceship and it's in space and it's fucking Sam Neill. So it's awesome.
Yeah. Sam Neill and Lawrence Fishburne.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's a great one. It's a bit of a cult classic. A lot of people have heard of it, but there's definitely a dedicated group of fans out there with that movie.
Hey, so a couple things. First, that movie just scared the bejesus out of me when I
it is scary.
Watched it, and there's a long time ago, but Aaron and I watched it, and at the time, I don't know, we watched it, and then I think we went to go play basketball outside a few blocks from our home. And then on the way back home, I remember like it started getting dark, and Aaron and I just kept picking up the pace to go back home. And like by the time we're hitting the door, we're just running. And Aaron won't own up to it anymore these days. But I remember specifically just being like, I'm like Billy running out of that camp. Like I need to go join the rest of humanity.
Well, you talked about in a couple of minutes ago how you always, or was the meme about running up the stairs when it starts?
Or the basement stairs. Like I don't always run up the basement stairs. Just kidding. Yes, I do.
Yes, I do. That was it.
But the second thing is at the end, and I can cut this out for spoilers, but at the end, what is happening at the end? Because if I remember correctly, the remaining team is like I think they just the last shot you see, I think, is like some like it's cutting us off from like viewing the team joining. Is that open?
It's been I have to admit I haven't watched Event Horizon in it's probably been 7 or 8 years.
Oh, okay.
So I can't quite remember the specifics, but I do remember thinking to myself that it seemed to me like they had opened some sort of like right, and in the end everyone gets. But I'd have to rewatch it again to really have a good answer to your question. I can't quite remember the specifics. Yeah, sorry. It's like it reminds me of Hellraiser. I don't know if you've ever seen Hellraiser.
Way back when I used to watch the horror movies, but there's a reason I don't watch them anymore. It's just my psyche cannot handle being that scared.
Yeah. Anyway, you definitely don't have to leave all that in.
Yeah.
But Event Horizon, excellent sci-fi horror shift.
Terrifying. All right.
All right. The next one I'll mention, I'm not going to talk about it a whole bunch because I actually didn't like it that much, but it is a movie that does shift genres. And it's a film directed by a famous horror director named Takashi Miike. And it's called Audition. And it starts out, the whole first like 2/3 of the movie is, it's kind of interesting. It's about this kind of lonely man. It's a Japanese film, and it's a lonely man, and he is searching for a wife and decides to put out like a personal ad where he ends up like interviewing lots of women, trying to find a woman who wants to date him or be with him. And let's just say that in the last about 1/4 of the film, shit gets really dark and all of a sudden turns from this drama, kind of this melodrama about this lonely man, into a straight up crazy ass horror movie. Yeah, so that's Audition by Takashi Miike. Okay. I mean, it was okay. I said it before, I didn't like it. It's all right. I know a lot of people love that movie. I was not as... I respect that it's a good film. It just didn't quite do it for me. And then my last one is one of my favorite films. You can probably guess what I'm going to say. Do you have a guess?
Dusk Till Dawn?
Yes, From Dusk Till Dawn. The greatest genre-shifting movie of all time, in my opinion. I wish I could go back in time and watch that movie again and have no idea what's going on. I just love, when I first saw From Dusk Till Dawn when I was a teenager, it blew my mind. I just love the idea of starting the movie one direction, like with one feel and sort of one tone that I really, really like. And then all of a sudden it just shifts and turns into this super campy, gory, violent B movie, which I also love. So for me, it was like watching two kick-ass movies back to back. I love From Dusk Till Dawn. I know not everyone is a fan, but for me, it just pushes all the right buttons.
That's a good point you bring up about how the genre shift really done right can give you basically two stories or two movies in one. That, right, if it's done right, then you're really enjoying two movies for the price of one. That's really neat.
Yeah, and like From Dusk Till Dawn is definitely playing towards a particular audience. I think some people went to see that movie because Quentin Tarantino was in it, and I thought they were going to get a Quentin Tarantino movie, which you kind of do in the first half an hour. It feels like a Quentin Tarantino movie with the violence, like the kind of the real world violence and the dialogue. But what you're really getting is a Robert Rodriguez movie, which is vampires and over the top gore and guts. So if you haven't seen Dusk Till Dawn in a while, check it out, kids. It's still great.
Yeah. Awesome. It's a good list.
All right. Well, thanks for letting me nerd out there for a moment.
Yeah. I'll just go ahead and give a plug to the one that always comes to my mind, the Cornetto trilogy, which has Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and World's End, has a great genre shift in both Hot Fuzz and World's End, but World's End, it happens a lot sooner than in Hot Fuzz, which I think makes for a more surprising moment, honestly, because Hot Fuzz, when it shifts genres, it's almost inevitable the way it shifts genres. Like, oh, it has to go to this path if we're going to resolve any kind of conflict, if we're going to resolve the story here. But World's End just kind of traipses drunkenly into the next genre when it becomes more of a sci-fi bent. And I remember watching the teaser trailers for that, totally not expecting what happens in the movie, and then watching this in the theater, and it's kind of like you saying, oh, I wish I could see that again with new eyes, as if seen it before. And that's one of those movies where it's just turns into such a bizarre sci-fi movie for the rest of it after I think the first half hour or so, that it'd be fun to see that again with those new eyes and like be taken aback again, like, whoa, did not see that coming.
It's fun recommending these types of movies to people that haven't seen them or haven't heard much about them, and then afterwards being like, so what'd you think? Right? And then you get to kind of experience the surprise through them.
Awesome. Well, that was a good little list there. Good movie nerd corner. Thanks, Jeff.
It's a definitive list. Yeah. Thanks for letting me have a nerd corner for a moment.
Hi. Nerds.
Nerds.
I think that's going to be it.
Nerds. Oh, that's what it is. It's the Revenge of the Nerds guy. Nerds. It's a definitive list.
Nerds. Chanting nerds. Nerds. Nerds.
Nerds, nerds. Was it? No, John Goodman in Revenge of the Nerds. He goes, you just got your asses kicked by a bunch of goddamn nerds.
You just got your asses whipped by a bunch of goddamn nerds.
There you go. There's the drop. There's the drop. Oh, that's great.
All right, man. Well, thanks for letting me have that little tangent there. Should we wrap things up with recommends?
Yeah, let's dive into the recommends part of the show and tell the audience, tell the listeners what we're listening to, reading, watching, wearing.
Yeah, so I got a TV show I've been watching lately. This is an HBO show, and it is called High Maintenance. Have you watched this at all, John?
I have not. I haven't even heard of this.
Okay. Yeah, High Maintenance. It's in its third season on HBO. Each show is about a half hour long. The premise of the show is it's interesting. It's the main character of the show is this guy that rides his bicycle around New York City, and he's a weed dealer. And so every episode is kind of follows him as he meets one of his customers, and then the camera will leave him and follow that customer, and the rest of the episode is about that person. And so in that regard, it's kind of like an anthology in that every episode is sort of a different story, but they're all tied together by this one character who's a weed dealer riding his bike around New York. And it's really good. The stories are fun and funny and interesting. Some of them are weird. Like I said, each episode's like a half hour long, so it's an easy watch. Yeah, check it out. High Maintenance.
High Maintenance, cool. What drew you to that show?
You know, I was just flipping through HBO, and it was one that popped up, and I had seen like an ad for it, and I thought it looked interesting. So my wife and I put it on, and we watched like 3 episodes right in a row, and we were hooked.
Awesome. Neat.
Yeah.
Okay. High Maintenance.
What do you got on the docket for us?
I just watched, again, one of these Netflix originals highly recommended to me from the Netflix algorithm.
I think I know which one it is.
Yeah, okay.
Was it Triple Frontier?
It was Triple Frontier.
It's on my list. I gotta watch it.
Awesome. Yeah, I would say it's a good little action suspense flick with high star power. You have Ben Affleck. You have
Affleck's in it? I didn't know that.
Affleck's in it. You have Pedro Pascal, Oscar Isaac, Charlie Hunnam.
That's a good cast.
A fifth person of the team I'm not really familiar with, and I don't remember his name. But the way it starts off, I mean, I'm watching it thinking, holy cow, here's this team going into the jungle to take out this camp of drug dealers, and they're doing it for selfish reasons. And the whole idea is that they're going after the money of this drug lord, and they have to pack it out of Brazil to the ocean. Pack. But they're not packing it. They're not packing it to the Atlantic Ocean. They're packing it to the Pacific Ocean. So they have all these natural obstacles to traverse, and they have other follies befall them. But it's a good little suspense action flick, like I'm saying. You're just hoping they make it. But it's Triple Frontier.
I saw it come up on like my Netflix recommended thingy, and I saw in the description the word heist, and I was immediately like, okay, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
I love heist movies, so it's on my list. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
Good recommend.
Awesome. Thanks. Yeah. So that is it for the recommends. And we talk about where can people find you, Jeff?
Oh, I'm on the Twitter, capital K Carl, _ capital H Hungus 314.
My name is Carl Ishbin Expert.
I was pretty quiet last week, but I'll try to get back on there with March Madness firing up this week. I'll probably be on there either being excited about wins or angry about losses. So
yeah, or a little bit of both.
Yeah, a little bit of both. You might get some drunk tweets from me from Vegas.
Yeah, so follow the hot action at Carl _ Hungus 314 on the Twitter. Well, you can find Predator Minute conversations on Facebook at Predator Minute Listeners Palapa. Hop on there and start up the conversation about your favorite genre shift movies. I think I smell a question of the week coming. Yeah. But we're also on the Twitter, Predator Minute, and you can email the show with insights, questions, comments at predatorminute@gmail.com, where we are part of the Movies by Minutes community. There are more than 100 podcasts devoted to the format of breaking down a movie 1 minute at a time. So go on there, moviesbyminutes.com. Check that out. Find your favorite movie or favorite genre. Horror, that would be for Jeff, just so you know.
Yeah.
And see what's happening with those different movies and check them out. So for Predator Minute, I've been John Zabriskie.
And I'm Jeff Glover.
And until next time,
it's all bullshit.
It's all bullshit. All of it.
I mean, stick around.
Stick around. I mean,
Stick around.
I forgot what I was doing. Stick around? Stick around.
Just bodies.
Just bodies.
That's my new favorite one.
Oh, you like that one from Commando?
I do. I like that one. Yeah, the way he says it. Just bodies.
Just bodies.
Just bodies.
Yeah, he's just so casual, so cavalier about
Just
it.
bodies. Yeah.
Just bodies.
I don't know. I like the inflection. Just bodies.
Just bodies.
Just bodies.
Now, all the tags this time around, all the tags for the latest episode, I just took Arnold's lines. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
They just all became their own tags. So you have,
Yes.
okay, it's hashtag you set us up, hashtag it's all bullshit, hashtag all of it, hashtag the cabinet minister, hashtag the whole business, hashtag got us in here to do your hashtag dirty work.
Yes.
I just love that
Well
line.
done.
And yeah, Eric just nailed it. Oh, he nailed it.
You set us up. It's all bullshit. All of it. The cabinet minister, the whole business. You got us in here to do your dirty work.
I've just mostly been looking at the first round because that's what I'm going to be down there for the first 32 games, like Thursday
Whoa.
and Friday. So I've been just poring over those games, trying to decide, looking at the spreads, who I want to bet on, over-unders, all that stuff. I haven't thought much about beyond that, like who I think's going to win the tournament. I did fill out a bracket, and I think I chose Duke, but I might go back and change it. I haven't decided yet.
Duke.
Dude.
Yeah, aren't
They're
they
so
favorite?
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, I chose them, and I was like, everybody in the freaking country is choosing Duke, but they're also really good.
Yeah.
You know, it's like sometimes you get the underdog that sneaks in there and surprises the world, and sometimes it's Duke versus UNC, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like the NFL playoffs recently, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
Patriots are just, yeah, it's no surprise that they won.
Yeah, great.
Great.
Awesome.
It's like, I remember a few years ago when Duke won for the first time in a few years, like again. And I remember there was, if it was an SI cover or something like that, where they were saying like return to normalcy or something. It was something along those lines, like back to like how it should be or something like that. I just thought, oh, that's what a bunch of losers who think like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's a couple 2 seeds that are really good, like Tennessee.
Yeah, that's my team, Tennessee.
Yeah, they were made a 2 seed. They you could make an argument they should have been a 1 seed.
They fell flat in the tournament, though. They lost by 20 to
I guess that
much lower ranked Auburn. But
I like, like Auburn's good. I think they'll make some noise. I like Houston. It's a 3 seed, and they're really good. I think Michigan's good. So, but Duke is obviously like probably the best team in the nation. And I was looking at the corner of their bracket, and I feel like they have one of the easier paths too.
Are they one overall? Are they number one?
I think so.
Of the whole bracket?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll see. I don't know. Yeah, like I said, I've been looking mostly at that first round of games, trying to figure out how I'm going to bet.
All right.
Do you have a prediction?
Oh man, I don't follow
I
much
don't know.
sports as much as I used to, so I'm just gonna say Virginia because it'd be cool to see a team win. Who I don't know, have they ever won?
I don't know.
I should say, of course, the University of Virginia has produced famous senators, business leaders, journalists, but never an NCAA basketball champion until now.